Hey guys, today we're going to finish up our Cold War unit here with the collapse of the Soviet Union. When we left off, we had talked about how we had the fall of the Iron Curtain. Remember, the Iron Curtain referred to the communist nations in Eastern Europe that kind of were a buffer zone between Western European democracies and the Soviet Union. But in 1989, one by one, countries in Eastern Europe got rid of communism and turned towards democracy. All right, part of that happened because of some of the policies we're going to talk about here under Mikhail Gorbachev. All right, so 1985, Mikhail Gorbachev becomes the General Secretary of the USSR. Soviet Union is a totalitarian state, meaning the government controls every aspect of society. It is a command economy, means the government controls most of the major industries. And the economy is kind of stagnant, all right? It is not growing exponentially like capitalist countries in the West. And so Gorbachev tries to solve these problems by implementing a policy called perestroika. Perestroika means to restructure. Okay, and so he's going to do that. Now realize the goal is not to get rid of communism, all right, but we're going to see that this is what ends up happening. But he wanted to make communism and socialism more efficient. And so he implements some limited market economy while the major industries are still controlled by the government. Also politically, he wants to make the political system more open, all right, shifting power away from the Politburo, which is kind of like the cabinet of the Communist Party. And so he implements something called democratization. All right. Prior to this policy, all communist officials were appointed by the general secretary. Okay, remember we talked about that with Stalin way back when. So instead, what he does is he implements elections. Now, it's not a true democracy because the only political party is the Communist Party still, but different communist officials earn their positions through elections. Okay? But he knows that true economic and social reforms can't happen unless people are not afraid to share new ideas and information. Okay? Because remember, under the policies of Stalin and Brezhnev, there was always the fear of being sent off to a labor camp like the gulags or thrown in jail, etc., etc. He makes that no longer a thing of fear when he introduces glasnost in 1988. Okay, glasnost means openness, that people can openly discuss and debate in the USSR. All right, to get rid of the publication of banned books, things like that. Okay, which is going to have an impact because, all right, we're going to see people are going to start openly protesting how they have to wait in line for food, and how they struggle to have basic necessities, and all those kinds of things. And Gorbachev says it's because of the system that they have in place that's just inefficient. All right. In addition, the Soviet economy, which I already talked about being stagnant, is almost going broke because of the huge amount of costs that it's spending in the arms race. Remember, in the 80s, Reagan restarted the arms race. And so, as the Soviet Union competes with the USSR to build up its nuclear arsenal, this costs a lot of money. All right? And so, in 1990, we're going to see that there is going to be another problem that takes place that's going to lead to the collapse of the Soviet Union. All right, and that is we're going to see different regions start trying to declare their independence. The first of which is with Lithuania. Okay, Lithuania is in the Baltic states. You can see it's right here. All right, Gorbachev tries to stop a blockade, all right, to try to stop them from breaking away. Boris Yeltsin, who is the president of Russia, because each different republic has its own president, kind of doesn't think that this is a good idea and criticizes the actions of Gorbachev. But stay tuned to Boris Yeltsin. All right. So communist hardliners don't like, though, Gorbachev's reforms. They think that this is opening up the opportunity for countries like Lithuania to break free. They don't like the glasnost. They don't like the perestroika. They want the old communist regime the way it was. And so they try to overthrow Gorbachev. Okay, so again, who tries to overthrow, or what we call a coup, are hardline members of the Communist Party. They think that Gorbachev is weak. All right. However, the person that leads the people to break it up is none other than Boris Yeltsin. And people climb up on tanks and stuff like that. And the coup actually fails. However, the failed coup leads to and shows the cracks in the wall, let's say. And so not only has Lithuania broke free, but now we're going to see Estonia and Latvia also declare independence. And one by one, different republics started to declare their independence. And so Gorbachev has no choice but to announce his resignation on Christmas of 1991, officially going to end the Soviet Union. Okay, two major reasons again. One, the failed coup attempt. All right, this kind of shows the divide in the Communist Party, and even though it fails, it leads to his resignation. And then number two, the economic problems, stagnant economy, and the high cost of the arms race. And so, what the Soviet Union ends up becoming is 15 independent nations. You can see them all listed down here. Okay, and so let's look at what happens kind of after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And Russia, the biggest of these new countries, is led by Boris Yeltsin. He has those problems, right? Alien economy, he has opposition, etc., etc. So the first thing that he does is he introduces a free market economy. It'll no longer be socialism in Russia. And we're going to see there's going to be a big divide between those that succeed and those that don't. Um, it's kind of almost like a free for all. All right. Secondly, Russia goes away from communism and becomes a democracy, a democratic republic. Okay, technically a semi-presidential democratic republic if you want to really get into it. Not quite as democracy as we are, but in a way a democracy. And he implements shock therapy. All right, to try to get a jump start. It doesn't result in inflation and some economic hardship, but on the other end, Russia starts to build its economy. All right. In 1994, though, we're going to see a largely Muslim area in southwest Russia tries to seek its independence, and Yeltsin is going to crush them violently. All right, there was the element of the idea that they're Muslim as well. That kind of goes into the way they acted. And the major city there of Grozny is going to be just crushed into complete rebel. Okay, so what is this area called? It's called Chechnya. Okay, called Chechnya. And here you can see right here is where Chechnya is. And we got Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia down here are freshly new republics that are also Muslim regions. Okay, but Chechnya remains part of Russia. But this was a huge deal in the news. I remember this is when I was in high school. And it ends up leading to Yeltsin having to resign his position. And this is when we are introduced to the guy that leads Russia today. And this is Vladimir Putin. All right. Now, Putin was president between 2000 and 2008. But under the Constitution, you cannot serve 3 consecutive terms. And so what ends up happening is for 4 years, Russia is ruled by somebody else, but he is actually the head of their the Duma, which is their legislative group. So technically, he really was still ruling the country. They're just not in name. And then since 2012, he's been in control again. He pretty much is a dictator, though technically he has been elected every year of his election. Though there's also talk of election fraud, etc., etc. He's a former member of the KGB. He was a lieutenant colonel there. That is the secret police in Russia. He is an evil, evil man. And it is because of him we've seen a return to tensions between the United States and Russia. And there's the big controversy on whether Trump acts with Putin or not. And so that's a whole other ball of wax that I'm not going to touch. All right. And his own thing here in 2014 was when they tried to take over a part of the Ukraine, which technically they have right now, though it's under dispute. And this is the area known as Crimea. Okay, so Ukraine is this country here in green. And then this little region here in black is part of Ukraine, but now is controlled by Russia. Russian-backed separatists who said that that Ukraine and Crimea wanted to rejoin Russia and recreate this, Mother Russia. Technically, the United States does not recognize it, but it's one of those areas that is occupied by Russian government, but is a disputed area. And so you can see the regions here. This is taken over by Russia, and that the pro-Russian protesters took over this little part here with the help of Russian-backed troops. All right, guys, if you have any questions on that stuff, shoot me an email. Good luck on your take-home open note test tomorrow. All right, thanks.